Good evening. This is the call to order of the Special Board of Aldermen meeting located at the Salado Municipal Building at 301 North Stagecoach Road in Salado, Texas. It is August 12, 2024, and the time is 6:30 p.m. Ms. Bean, please call the roll.
Let the record show all present.
Thank you, ma'am. As we begin this Board of Aldermen meeting, let's take a moment to reflect on our shared commitment to serve the diverse community of the Village of Salado. We invite all present, regardless of faith, belief, or philosophy, to join us in a spirit of unity, respect, and compassion. May our deliberations be guided by wisdom, our decisions rooted in fairness, and our actions driven by the common good. Whether you find inspiration in the higher power, the bonds of humanity, or the wonders of together to build a culture where every voice is heard and every individual is valued. Let's take a moment, please. Thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the flag, pledge allegiance to Jesus Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Item 1 on the agenda is public comments. The Board of Aldermen welcomes comments from citizens on issues and items of concern not on the agenda. Those wishing to speak must sign in before the meeting begins and observe a 5-minute time limit when addressing the board. Speakers will have one opportunity to speak during this time period. Speakers desiring to speak on an agenda item will be allowed to speak when the agenda item is called. Inquiries about matters not listed on the agenda will either be directed to staff or placed on a future agenda for Alderman consideration. Mr. Sam Morris.
Good evening, Sam Morris, 701 Indian Trail. Boy, where we have come, right? So I wanted to address before instead of during, and there's a reason. As we move towards this budget, we need to think about not only what has happened and transpired over the past few years that has led us to where we are, but also how we get out of it. And I think that it's good faith that is going to get us through. And when I say good faith, it's a very unpopular way of good faith. There are a lot of things that we have voted on, that we have put out there, and we said, yes, this is what we want to do. But some of those things are going to have to wait. Some of those things are going to have to stop, and stop pretty soon. Whether it be subscriptions, drawings, buildings, the whole 9 yards. We've got to stop, and we got to think, do we have the money to do this right now? We've been, oh yeah, we're going to fix potholes and all of that. We've never gotten to it. This is the reason why we haven't gotten to it. I believe we follow the money, you'll see that that's why we never got to it. So now here we are. So the question for each of you is, what is it that the village is going to have to sacrifice to get there? A tax increase, yeah, that's a thing, yeah. But what are you going to show these folks? What are you going to do on your part to try and avoid that at all costs? And yes, unpopular, yeah. There may be things like, yeah, we've sitting here and all talked about police cruisers and trucks. We may have to say, hey guys, how can we do that? Camera system around, yes, we want to upgrade it. But does it even make sense to have a subscription at this point? we're in a deep hole. And I don't envy you guys for trying to have a place to figure us out of it. But the hole's been coming for a while. A lot of us have been watching those. And so now it's on you guys to figure out how to make it as painless as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Anybody else want to speak during public comments? Mr. Boynton, I've got you on here, but do you want to wait and speak to an agenda item, or do you want to speak now?
If it weren't for his efforts, I don't think we'd be here today. And I wanted to, you all should be appreciative to John. He's been doing it on his own time, on his own dime. And I've enjoyed the meetings since I got tired of going to them since 2018, 2019, because I was frustrated. So I can watch them online, and I don't have to bother with the politics. Things are better now, so I'm back. So watch out. 3 years ago, my good friend King Copeland died, and I met him in 2015. And Darlene Walsh introduced me to him. He had the property on Williams Drive, right by the Bishop's Chicken, which is going to become a McDonald's. And he would be thrilled, because he worked so hard to the opposition of Don Ferguson to get him anything to get that property going. And he was frustrated. I worked very closely with him. We wrote together. I talked to him every single day. First time I met him on July 7th of 2015, Darlene introduced me and said, "King, this is Brian Sunshine." He said, "You're Brian Sunshine?" The mayor, Skip, mayor said you cost the village $500,000. And I said, "Oh, really?" And then he gave me a big hug. And we were friends ever since then, very good friends. 5 years ago, throughout this course, I've been commenting online, and I've met a lot of interesting people, and a lot of people have shared information with me. I have a copy of this for all of you to read. So if you're interested in doing any kind of investigation, this is where you need to start. You need to start, actually, with the sewer bond that was passed in 2014 and all the lies that were told to get that bond across the finish line. It's not been profitable for the longest time, ever since its inception. We got a $1.5 million economic development grant that became a $1 million grant, where in that application, we said we were going to add, the Village of Salado was going to add 2,250 jobs over the 3 years that it would take between implementation and we were supposed to report that quarterly to the United States Chamber of Commerce. I don't think that happened. I'm sure it didn't happen. In 2019, I received a message from a former employee of Pulaski Co. And Pulaski Co., for those of you who don't know, were the ones that were employed by Billy Hanks Jr. to develop Sanctuary. He asked anonymity, and I provided it, and I'm still providing it, but I want to tell you what he said. The reason for my information: I will be resigning my duties for Pulaski Co. I am a native Salado resident and was under the impression it was to improve the village. Instead, it is a plan to bankrupt Salado, and Hanks will have full power over the sewer system in light of the entitlements. So here we are, 5 years later. We're broke. And this is why, or this is part of the reason why. To Sam's point, I agree. I don't think I can swallow a tax increase from 37 to 48 cents. I do think that, how am I out of time?
About a minute.
Okay. I would look into things like your errors and omissions, your liability insurance. You pay a $63,000 premium in this budget for errors and omissions insurance. I don't know whether the misuse or misappropriation of funds can be used for insurance or not, but that's an avenue to go down. The other avenue to go down is to float a $1 million bond so that it defrays the sacrifice that taxpayers have to make over the next 5, 10, 15 years. We have the money. I don't know what kind of credit we have, but we could get a loan, a line of credit, issue a certificate of obligation bond where you don't have to go to the voters for approval. There are options out there. I have a hard time swallowing a $1.2 million deficit that isn't my fault. And it's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's the fault of the prior administration. And once again, we're paying for it. Thank you.
Mr. Sunshine, can you state your full name and address, please, for the record?
My name is Brian Dean Sunshine, 926 North Ridge Road, Salado, resident since 1997, Salado, Texas 76571.
Thank you.
And may I approach and?
Sure. Thanks, sir. Do we have anyone else wishing to make public comments? Mr. Bourne, you want to go now or you want to wait till an agenda item? State your name and address, please.
Jim Boynton, 3565 FM 2843 Salado. Everything Brian Sunshine just said is absolutely the truth. This corruption, though, goes back further than what anybody wants to admit. It goes back to when Merle Stallcup was mayor, and we have a guy who's our elections judge who was the mayor right after him. Both of those guys held up people's projects forever. Anybody that's ever worked on a project that's not friends with our council members or our mayor understands how many thousands of dollars did we lose by them dragging their feet, just even on dominoes or other things. This is corruption. Everybody now is having to pay for it, be branded as a malcontent, whatever. I don't care about being branded that. I was speaking the truth. The former mayor, when he's trying to give me this gold coin or whatever he gave me that I returned to him, he was saying in front of y'all, I've spoken nothing but the truth. All of these holdups by the former city manager and the mayor and mayors before them, you know, I'll tell you how far it goes back. He was my dad's pastor in Azle, Texas in 1977. He specifically told me, do not tell anybody you know me. I mean, think about it, folks. That's the mayor of this town sending us down the river. And he doesn't want anybody to know he knows the guy who's speaking out against all of it. And he's also right about Billy Hanks and Shalansky. Shalansky has threatened people in this town with eminent domain. You would come into the city hall and try to get the city manager or the mayor to do something about it. They did nothing. I mean, Jason Graham spent a couple hours on the phone with us a couple of years ago at my son's house trying to figure out why all of a sudden the sewer's not coming down to where we're at. Well, why is that? Because the mayor and the city manager didn't want it. How much money did it cost my neighbors? There are houses being built up the street where that sewer could have run. There's no place for them to town. They're putting in septic tanks. They're paying taxes for a sewer that they have no provision to hang on. I was removed whenever I challenged the city manager on his cost because he said it was going to take, what did he say that day, $635,000 or $85,000 to run it from Royal Street up to Santa Maria? That's not true. I'd already had a bid from the company that did that, did the initial installation. If you ran it out of the road, it was going to be $40,000. If you ran it in the road, $70,000. One of our council members approached them trying to hook to the sewer. They were denied. Everybody's looking the other way, wanting to blame somebody. We're all collectively to blame, not just you guys. All of there's a former city council member that just got off the board that told me one day, I need to just get over it. So what do y'all think? Do I need to just get over it, or should I keep plowing? Because I'm not going to back down. We have looked the other way while corruption's gone on for years, and we've done nothing about it. Now is the time. I feel bad that you guys get stuck with it. I feel thankful that we have a city manager that's ethical and honest. But we're gonna end up we're gonna have to do something drastic, whether it's pass a bond package, up the taxes, you know, that's, whatever it is, we gotta pay for not standing up before them. Thank you.
I wasn't going to, but I thought I won't take 5 minutes. Linda Reynolds, 1110 Mill Creek Drive. I've lived in town for about 11, 12, 13 years. Anyway, I wanted you all to know I appreciate where you are there, but for the grace of God. Every time I ever ran for office, my mother said she'd vote for me, and then she'd tell me when I came home she prayed all day I wouldn't get it. That was my mom. She was a good Baptist. I want you to know, Bert, I voted for you. Zach, I voted for you. I didn't vote for Mr. McDonald because he hadn't filled out that one blank that drove me crazy on his application. But I respect how hard he's been working, and I certainly would vote for him again. I just wanted you to know that. My friends, many of us are brainstorming as much as we can what you could do. I used to live in Bar Harbor, Maine, or I didn't live in Bar Harbor. I lived in Mount Desert, but I worked in Bar Harbor for 25 years. It's a town right now of about 2,550 people as of 2024 residents. It's a small town, but in the summertime, 3-4 million people come through to go to national parks. They instituted parking meters. All heck broke loose about it, but they did it. And guess what? Last year they got they had $3.5 million from their parking meters. Now, I'm not suggesting we have parking meters in town, except in our parking lot on the weekends down by the stagecoach. I think you could rake in a good deal of money, and people who live here could have a pass, but everybody else on the weekends, I don't think those people who are in the creek are coming into town and spending much money, but I think we could have a little parking area there that we would charge for on the weekend. Just a thought. Bar Harbor did it and in town, and they're raking in $3 million. So not that we would get that much, but that parking lot fills up, the creek fills up every weekend in the summer. We might as well get a little bit out of them. Somebody else suggested some food carts down there that we lease out to people, and maybe they'd spend money down there. I know that people have a whole lot of ideas that they'll bring on Thursday in the other meeting. I just think I want to thank you all for what you're doing. I'm thankful for my mom's prayers, and I appreciate how hard this is going to be for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on. Item 2, discussion of possible action. A is discuss and reconsider possible action on setting the dates, times, and place for the public hearings on the proposed fiscal year 2025 operating budget and the 2024 ad valorem tax rate. Mr. De La Rosa.
Good evening. This item was taken up at the last meeting, and I gave you some proposed dates based on a calendar that I didn't realize we were going to have to do what we're at least considering now with this proposed tax rate increase. So therefore, the new calendar that I'm recommending that you schedule a public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2025 operating budget for Thursday, August 22nd, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at the municipal building located at 301 North Stagecoach Road. And second, that I recommend that the board schedule a public hearing on the proposed 2024 ad valorem tax rate for Monday, August 26th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at the municipal building located at 301 North Stagecoach Road. For the proposed fiscal year 2025 operating budget for Thursday, August 22nd, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. For the proposed 2024 ad valorem tax rate for Monday, August 26, 2024 at 6:30 p.m.
Mr. Del Rosa, can we satisfy one of these public hearings at the next regular Board of Aldermen meeting on the 15th or no?
You cannot because of the publication. As you might recall at the last meeting, I said that I would do this in consultation with our legal counsel. I have done that. We've looked at it. So the 15th, the agenda that was posted today, we did put a workshop so we could have a discussion on the proposed operating budget, on the proposed tax rate, and also to accept public comments / public hearing at that meeting. So that was placed on the agenda right after administrative reports, but before any of the discussion and action items.
Good enough, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna open up this agenda item to public comments. Anybody wish to speak? Nope. Alderman Graham, do you have any questions?
Thursday the 22nd and August 26th respectively, right?
That is correct.
No question.
Alderman Hurst?
No question.
Alderman McDonald?
No questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Bell?
August 22nd and 26th, those will be special meetings, correct?
That is correct.
And adoption will be May, September 5th.
The adoption will be Monday, August 26th. That is the drop dead date.
So not only are you doing a hearing, we're also doing adoption.
That is correct.
Okay.
Public hearings first, adoption of the operating budget after that, and then after that would be adoption of the proposed tax rate.
And I think these need to be worded that way, not just the hearing, but also adoption. Because the way this is worded,
Well, yeah, the
it
agenda.
gives me the sense that we're just doing the proposed.
Yeah.
And not doing anything else. So
Any more questions from the board? No? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve and accept the set dates for the 2025 operating budget public hearing on Thursday, August 22nd at 6:30 p.m. and then the 2024 ad valorem tax rate public hearing on Monday, August 26th, 2024, with an adoption of both on that date.
Motion made by Alderman Graham and seconded by Alderman Hurst. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question been called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed?
Mayor and Alderman, before you have an operating budget, based on the comments that I've heard, we certainly have taken that into consideration. Meaning that when we started putting the budget in working with the mayor along with our accountant, as he indicated at the town hall meeting, the funds that we were concerned about that we're looking into and is being currently investigated by our police department kind of brought to light that we were depleting our reserves much faster as I started to pull the audits for previous years and having discussions with the city count and the auditor indicated that we were certainly not going to be able to continue down this pathway, which is why this proposed budget is the most strategic we could put together. There were some questions raised to the mayor about a transfer from the general fund to the wastewater. It's in here. There's a transfer of $70,000 to a sinking fund should you decide to issue debt, like we heard this evening. Should you decide to go with some of the capital improvement projects that you've already put a large portion of the capital up front to pay for the engineering, design, and environmental. So, depending on what that decision will be in the near future for capital improvement projects or capital purchases, there is a plan. It is a budget without a deficit. We looked at 3 years of historical expenses. The revenues, you weren't hitting those targets, so they're above flat line. We hope for a better year. When I forecast revenue streams, I don't have hopes of what developments may or may not be coming in or what anything may be coming in. I look at your historical, right? So As we started to put this budget together, we worked with the mayor, indicating where we would cut back. And we heard some comments, can we cut $5,000 here, $10,000 there? You're worried about $5,000 or $10,000 when you've got bigger issues. Your budget is a guide. It can be amended. You do not spend the funds unnecessarily. But if you have it, then you're better off. If not, you have to do a budget amendment. So therefore, what's been going on is the budgets have been passed. We've made change orders. We've had deficits. You've been utilizing your reserves. This kind of is, we're going to button it down, have a stay much closer to this budget. That doesn't mean you're not going to have an emergency. That doesn't mean that something won't go wrong and you may go beyond a line item. But you get to amend those budgets during that time with full disclosure. So the comments that I've received, the calls that I've had, the conversations that people have stopped asking is look at your financials. Look at your audits. That tells a story. So now we can certainly cut back, right? And I've heard the comments, Mayor, or at least I've not read them all, but that they think that we've added folks. You had a full-time that we replaced with 2 part-times. And the former village administrative assistant was replaced with a planner. We didn't add any more folks in city offices. What we did add was in public safety that benefits the community. So it's going to be difficult to really scale back a lot of it. It is about as lean as it can be. I'll take any comments there if you like, or.
And I'll start it off. I appreciate that input, Mr. Del Rosa. These are things that we have considered extensively when we sat down and put these numbers on paper. And he's correct. I've seen the comments. I've heard comments from the public. I've seen them on social media about us hiring some high dollar employees and that kind of. And that's just not true. We did away with the assistant village administrator position. We did bring in a city planner for, what was that, $10,000 or $15,000 less? 10 less. Replaced a full-time position with 2 part-time positions, thus saving the money on any sort of benefits, insurance, retirement, that sort of thing. As far as the PD budget goes, that's not something that I'm willing to touch. As far as I'm concerned, the police department is the most important service that we can provide to our citizens, especially as we continue to expand. There are things that happen on a daily basis that the general public is not aware of, and I'm not going to get into details on it, but I'll give one example. Most of you are probably not aware there was an incident last week in which a firearm was involved. And had there not been 2 police officers there, somebody could have very easily lost their lives that day. And it was a very volatile situation. And the 2 police officers that we had on that scene were able to take command of that scene in such a way that everybody walked away and lived to see another day. And we're very appreciative of that. As far as any sort of extravagant spending, we're giving them what they need. If we have more police officers, we obviously need more vehicles, body cameras and things of that nature. By law, before they can even initiate a traffic stop, they have to have a body camera on that's functional. And the equipment that we're looking at certainly is better than what they have now, that they continue to have to put in the shop for repairs, or the batteries go dead, or they die during the middle of a traffic stop. If God forbid, something terrible would happen to one of them during that traffic stop, or whatever the case may be, or somebody accuses them of committing a crime against a citizen and they don't have a video to back up what their side of the story is, then it's their word against that individual that they pulled over, and that's not something that I'm willing to risk. It's a liability, in my opinion, and I think that those numbers for PD are necessary. Alderman Graham?
Mandy, the only question I'd have is, I know you and I have talked about this in terms of any money that was left on the table, particularly during previous administration, with be it either developers or any other sources of revenue that we've been able to look at bringing in. How comfortable are you with us having run the traps on all those potential sources of revenue at this point in time? Have they been identified to a reasonable degree, or what's your assessment on that.
Yes, sir. One of the first things that the planner the planner started looking at all of the invoices from legal services. First engineering, and then subsequently from legal. We went all the way back to the start of this fiscal year. For example, if you've already got a development plan and you've already signed off, and you didn't collect a lot of your fees, you lose a lot of your leverage, right? And then the industry standard is, well, the president was, well, I didn't do it in the first development, now you got me here. Yeah, but you've got other developments coming down the pike, and we know that, and that has changed. I had a conversation with a county elected official last week. He said, he goes, yeah, I hear a lot of things going on. He says, they think you're changing the rules. I said, I'm not changing any rules. I'm just enforcing the ordinances that already exist that we weren't following. So, development fees. You'll see already the agenda that was posted today. You'll see that there's already an escrow agreement on there. You'll get another one coming in by email that I'm going to move forward and ask for ratification September 5th. If you're going to submit developments, not only do you pay your application fee in accordance to the 2015 ordinance, you also pay for professional services, or we won't release it. These ordinances they weren't followed, Alderman. But what I'm saying is, we are now looking at these ordinances. Now, building inspections, we've hired Bureau of Veritas some time ago. We need to make sure that what we pay to outsource that we're covering our expenses on our end. But we're subsidizing some of these things. And you've certainly been subsidizing development when it comes to engineering and legal. So, in fiscal year 2025, I would say by the end of the second quarter, you will be well on your way. And I had a conversation with Alderman Hurst. I said, a year from now, August of next year, you will see the difference.
So it'd be fair to say that some of we've spent a fair amount on engineering services this year, obviously trying to right set some things and get a good situational awareness on, certain projects and what have you. Would it be fair to say that that bill could possibly be less next year and there would be revenue gained as a result of that, just as an example of what you're talking about?
I am hoping that the bills are the same, because that tells me that the activity is just as great or more. But we will certainly not be subsidizing development.
Thank you. No further questions.
Alderman Hurst.
No, I agree. Thank you, man. You explained that to me the other day. And just how much money, I think, just to think about how much money we've lost over the years for paying for somebody's inspection that they're not paying for. Now that you're going to enforce that ordinance, there's going to be less money out of our pocket and more money out of the developer's pocket. I appreciate that. Then to follow on with the mayor here about the PD, that's one of my big sticklers too. That's our safety and security for the community in the village. I mean, we need these guys. We need the cameras, and we need everything that they provide for us. They might not get another officer this year, but maybe next year. So I don't think we're going to add anything to their budget this year, from what I remember looking at. But that's all I got to say for the PD. I mean, it's our safety and security for the community. Thank you.
Alderman McDonald.
Yeah, I'm just going to convey what the last two aldermen have been speaking about. So some of the things that I've noticed in this budget, we've cut back where we could, we've trimmed where we needed to. I'm looking at it face for face here, though it's available for everybody to review at any given time. But I will tell you that you can actually, if you pay attention and look at it, a lot of work has went into this budget. We're trying to do our best that we can to minimize the damage that's coming to our community tax-wise. And that's very important, to know that we are truly on your side. And we're recognizing this. I, for one, am thankful for the mayor to be able to come out to the community the way he did and let you know, plain hand, this is the problems that we're facing. I think we all at some point in time had an idea of coming into this position of how we wanted to help benefit the community. I spoke about economic development, for example. That was a huge piece. But that takes a back seat right now to make sure that the economic development that we have is to stay alive. So I'm thankful for the budget, and I understand the budget. And I want you to please, if you're unsure, reach out to one of us if you don't understand a line item. We'll be all happy to explain that to you. So thank you for your time, Mr. La Rosa for doing this. Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Bell.
Couple questions. Mine deal with transfers. So there's 65, I think it's 66,550 transferred to the water department, water sewer fund. How do we not do that?
My suggestion is that you do a sewer rate analysis in the fall. It's required by statute before you can implement a change, and then we set up policies that either you do a rate increase. Right now, since now that you've had quite a few of the new residential developments coming in, sanctuary, so you've got now residential, the apartments will be completed, the first building in, I can't think of the names right now, Water's Edge. First building, 30 units. 6 more buildings will be completed by the end of the year. That's 210 apartment units. So then you have multi-tenant and you've got commercial. Set it a rate, a tiered system. Residents pay less than multi-tenant, multi-tenant pays less than commercial. But do an analysis, implement it in the first part of the year. And I believe wastewater should be self-sustaining. Not only should it be, the Public Utility Commission expects for it to be an enterprise fund, and it does pay for itself. So subsidy, stuff like that, we're just going to have to not have that. Now, you do have some more businesses on the western side of I-35 along West Village Road that are not connecting or in the process of connecting to the wastewater. Right? The more businesses we get on there, it'll lower those rates for others. But it should be self-sustaining.
If we were to do that in the first quarter of this next budget cycle, do you think we could overcome the 65,000 and then amend the budget to remove it from the transfer?
If you do it in the first quarter, yes, sir. I think if I was to start immediately, it would take right about 60 days to do the analysis and then implement. Give 30 days notice, so you're talking 90 days from now.
And is this transfer an accrual item that happens month to month, or is it a lump sum?
I understood it was lump sum.
I'd like to see us do it on an accrual basis. We're just only moving 5,000 each month, to where at the end of the 5,000 plus change, get us to the 65,000 by the end of the 24-25 budget. Is that way, if this becomes self-sustaining, then all you have offset them, and then there is an amount they're paying back to us, right?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
So whatever we have accrued off, we would be able to recapture and bring back, along with the previous years that they weren't arrears.
Yes.
Correct?
That is correct, yes.
And what is that amount?
Yeah, I can't give you that right now. I don't.
Safe to say it's over $500,000.
It's over, yeah.
Second line item would deal with the transfer to interest and sinking fund. What is that? Because isn't interest sinking getting all its money from?
Yeah, well, right now what you have in your sinking and interest fund is your debt payments, because you've already issued debt. So the $70,000 to transfer is once you've identified either debt or capital project or capital purchase, then we will transfer it there, because once we know what that debt issuance is, all I did was set enough funds in there to be able to at least try to make the first year's debt payment, the first year's bond payment. And quite at that amount for a debt issuance that I've issued in the past, I was trying to hit about 100 to 125,000. Okay, so what I'm thinking is that say that you issue a 15-year finance note, right, debt issuance. Maybe the first 3 years, all you're paying is interest, and then the back 12, you're paying both interest and the principal. So it depends on what projects you're going to move forward with, or what you want to issue, or how, depending on what this investigation shows, whether we owe funds or not. It's too early for us to tell exactly what it is, that, without identifying the project, the funds, and who did what. So if we have to pay it back, I've taken measures to be able to issue debt to be able to get this behind us.
Okay, so is this an item we ought to accrue over that same period of time, or?
Well,
take it
just a
lump
budget,
sum?
yeah. So it's in there. You could accrue it over time, but quite honestly, it doesn't. You won't do it immediately, but if you don't have it in place, then you're moving monies later again. You're doing another budget amendment to create it, and that may be you may not remember in 6 months or 8 months that we prepared ourselves. And again, if you don't issue any debt, it's there, and you can reallocate those funds to any line item you want or back into the general fund.
I'm just saying that if we accrued the money now, and did it month to month over that period, then if it comes back where we don't, then it can all be backed out in reverse. But if it's there, then cash flow wise, month to month, you're not taking the hit like you would with a lump sum.
Yeah, that's a lot more work than it can be. Don't get me wrong, but you're accruing, hoping that you're meeting all of your revenues and expenses every month. So you're basically going to put it in your unassigned reserve. What I did, it is now in your budget. So in other words, if it's not in your line item, it's in your unassigned reserves, and every month you're accruing it and moving it back out of your unassigned reserves into that line item to accrue it.
If we run this budget with a rate hike that's half of what's being proposed,
We know that every 1 cent brings in a little over $38,000. So yeah, we ran the numbers, we ran what we could cut back, and that's how we figured out that this is about it. And what I wanted to make sure that I had a strategic plan to be able to issue debt and try to, it's not the target that I wanted, but it certainly is better than where we were without going higher. So, but yes, we ran this thing multiple ways, trying to see what we could cut back. I've even had discussions with 1, 2, 3 of you about if we need to cut back personnel and services. And the question is, at what level of city service do you want to deliver? When you see what you've got today, are you prepared to deliver less than what you've got today?
So that $70,000 in the interest and sinking fund would be, for example, if we needed to move forward with the Royal Street project, which right now I know we've talked about putting it on pause, but we've already spent $500,000 on that project.
You're about 90% complete on your design and environmental.
So we're trading $70,000 for $500,000. If we stop that project, and potentially we get ourselves in some hot water with TxDOT, and we're out $500,000. That's just one example. I was just saying that publicly. That's what that's there for. We've got money things that we've already spent money on, and to walk away from a $500,000 investment would be ridiculous.
Yeah. In Mill Creek, you're almost complete with the design. In Mill Creek is a 100% complete reimbursement from the Fed. It's one of the programs, but that means you have to front the money, and it takes 60 to 90 days to get reimbursed. And every month you submit your invoices. So in other words, so I had a conversation, and I did inform the mayor on Friday, late, because it was a late conversation with TxDOT. I said, they wanted to know, where are you with this? And I didn't realize, for example, Royal Street had already been delayed before. They said, we'll work with you. I said, if you haven't seen it, you're in Waco, this is what we have got. What are my options? He said, well, 1, we hate for you to lose the project, and 2, we'd hate to lose the funds. Well, we can delay it some months, but it's got to get going. But we'll work with you. Work out your finance and get back to us. I was hoping this is the first time request or something. You've already had some requests. So, Mill Creek was one of them. I spoke with Dr. Ted Smith today from the school district. We were talking about the new high school. They're looking forward to the high school, the sidewalks. They want to get that. So again, I did mention that they're on pause. So, depending on the funding source for which of the projects has a different deadline, we were at the K-Tempo meeting. We saw those timelines, you know, the years that they're out. I mean, you can kind of delay the Mill Creek and the Williams Road a little bit longer, a year. But Royal Street is probably the one that's already needing to move forward. If you do not move forward and those funds are reallocated, you go through a complete new application process and get back in the queue.
All right, thank you. I'm going to open it up to public comments. Anybody that wishes to speak, you have 5 minutes.
Linda Reynolds, 1110 Mill Creek Drive. I don't think we should be afraid of TxDOT blackballing us or whatever. We had a $300,000 grant for trails on Royal Street that they flubbed around back in 2016, 17, and they finally just gave up. Kim Fowles was our manager, and the people planning it couldn't come together on what to do for a trail. And it was a $300,000 that just went back into TxDOT. I don't think they blackball you for this. I appreciate Manny saying, we're talking to them. I don't think we should be afraid of them. They will never blackball Salado. We're really important to them, I think.
I think we're more, well, I'll get to that in a minute. Any more public comments? Mr. Street?
My name is Gerald Street. I live at 859 North Ridge Road in Salado, Texas. Been a resident here for over 30 years. I just have a couple of questions. What part of your budget is what percentage salary?
Salaries for what? Can you speak into that microphone, sir?
Yes, sir. What part of your total budget is consisted of salaries and administration costs? Those are non-flexible. You can't cut there. Where can you cut? Mayor, didn't you offer a tax rate that would satisfy the shortcoming for a year of 48 something? Did I read it wrong? I've been reading.
At 48%?
No, 48 cents tax. What was your proposal on raising taxes?
48 cents.
Yeah, 48 cents. That's it. Now, what would that do for us if you guys pass that and that becomes our tax rate?
Mr. De Rosa, is it appropriate for us to have this conversation right now? I mean, would it be in public comments about this
No,
agenda?
so this is a public, yes, public comments. At Thursday's meeting is more of a workshop, and public comments and public hearing. So a workshop give you much more opportunity, not today's meeting. So.
I'd love to answer your question, Mr. Street. I can't do it in this setting. I can see you after this, or we can do it at the public hearing.
I didn't say that as official. I really, I don't know, though it's that non-negotiable. You got to make it about payroll, you don't have a city. I actually suggest, the situation you're in. When I was first on the school board back in 2001, we were in a similar situation. We had to spend money out of fund balance, but not balancing the budget. That's pretty close to a negative fund balance. State jumped all over. I was a real superintendent, Robin Babbage. We hired a real tough superintendent, Robin Battershell, and she instituted emergency things like freezing all travel, freezing all rooms, cut back, and we got back in shape fairly quickly, but this is going to take you guys some time, and if I had any advice as an old man, don't panic. Just stay the course. You know if you're doing it right or not, and just follow your heart, follow your mind, and do what you have to do.
Thank you, sir. Any more public comments?
Partnership, I want my school director. I had to go get it. I know it's hard. One thing that's frustrating me, and this is all public hearings, is how you have a public hearing on the 26th, and then you vote right after. It basically is a punch in the gut to citizens. You're not going to make any changes, so why have the public hearing on the day you're going to approve the budget? You don't have time to make any amendments. It's frustrating, and it happens every single year. I appreciate what Manny said about the builders and the developers and enticing that fee structure so that we can get a lot more revenue out of it. I would suggest also that you look at itinerant vendors and make sure that they're paying their fair share. The annual cost for an itinerant vendor, I think, as I read it, if I'm reading the right ordinance at the right date, at the right time, is $100 a year, which is peanuts. I mean, there are brick and mortar businesses that spend thousands of dollars a year in property taxes alone. They fund our sports teams and our clubs and our organizations. The food vendors don't do any of that. They're getting off. I mean, if you look at Belton and Colleen and Harker Heights and what they charge for food vendors, it's a lot more. It's a hell of a deal for itinerant vendors. So you can get your arms around that. Sales tax growth, you're going from $850,000 to $860,000. Excuse me. Whew, that's a lot, 1.1%. Why don't you stretch your goals a little bit on the revenue side and hold people accountable? Why don't you go from $850,000 to $900,000? Because when expectations are low, they're easy to fulfill. And I want to see in this environment, I want to see us at least hit the average for the Bell County growth and sales tax. We're a tourist community. We should be leading the pack. Instead, we're trailing miserably, the lowest last month. So I would suggest not only looking at the expense side of the equation, but also the revenue side of the equation. And it may be $5,000, $10,000 of a clip, but it adds up over time. And if we can get $100,000 and $200,000 more in revenue, it'll help us diffuse that $1.2 million debt. So I appreciate all that you're doing. I know it's difficult, every single one of you, and I haven't seen a crowd this big in a while, so a lot of interest. Good luck.
Thank you. We've tried to, we've pushed some of these meetings up and tried to squeeze them in as soon as we could and get as many meetings as we could before this went to a vote. Because as was discussed in the town hall meeting, that we wanted to give people the opportunity to say what they want to say. And we've increased the time to 5 minutes. I think that we've kind of set that new standard that we do want. And I love seeing this many people here. That's not usual for us. I'd like to see it here on a regular night, that we just have a regular agenda just to come see what's going on. I want people to get involved in what's going on in the community, and we are encouraging that. The next regular Board of Aldermen meeting, it's on there for a workshop / public hearing, sort of, not really, but we want to hear more. So pack this room more next week or at the end of this week, and the same thing with the public hearings that are coming up. We do take it into consideration. It's not done until it's done. So the vote on this is not until August the 26th. So we do want more input. I would urge you to please not get information from Facebook. I'm seeing on there about this 48-cent tax increase. When y'all see stuff like that, correct it. My phone number's out there. Have them call me. All of our emails are listed on the website. Have them reach out to us, and we'll set the record straight. It's not a 48-cent tax increase. Anybody else? All right. Any more questions for Mr. Del Rosa or for me?
I have a question. Mr. De La Rosa, so on the 26th, by chance, for some reason, there is something we've noticed, an anomaly during the budget that none of us caught until the last second. Are we able to make any adjustments during that period of time under executive session, things of that nature?
Wouldn't be executive session, though.
I'm sorry. No?
No, sir. No. Any discussions regarding this will be in a open public forum.
That's fine. But could we fix it if we needed to fix it then?
You can fix it until you adopt it.
That's what I need to know.
You can also amend your budget after you've adopted it. Anytime. Budget amendments can go up, they can go down also, Alderman, Mayor.
Thank you for answering my question.
We do, and that, part of that, discussion before adopting it is to have those discussions amongst ourselves and say, you can make a motion to do, and we did it last year. We can make those adjustments on the fly. And then amend whatever motion it is, that sort of thing. Anybody else? Huh?
They couldn't.
So there is an opportunity when we're having that discussion on the 26th amongst the board. We can discuss that at that time, and Mayor Pro Tem Bell may have another option or something that he thought about over the last week or so, or any one of us up here, and we can make those amendments on the fly, and then we can adopt it, and then later on go back and amend it on paper, and then bring it back and approve that amendment. Correct?
You can, and this is what happened for somebody that you may not know. When you adopted the budget September of 2023, it was proposed at 41 cents per $100 valuation. Well, 4 places out, whatever. It was reduced by 2 cents down to 39 cents. But the budget that was presented to you was based on 41 cents, still had a deficit. It was reduced down by 2 cents, and the budget was never modified.
So the budget that we approved, or the last board approved, it was budgeted at 41 cents, but the approved tax rate was 39, and the budget was not amended to 39.
And if you look at the ordinance that's posted on the website, it's signed at 41 cents per $100 valuation.
Correct.
But it was reported to Bell County CAD at 39 cents. So making it changes at the very last moment, it's okay, as long as we change the operating budget to accommodate that change.
Just so we're clear though, you can amend the budget throughout the year. You can't amend the tax rate.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay. I will entertain or open the floor for a motion.
Mayor, I motion to. No, go ahead. You're in.
No, we got the motion of we're discussing an action on this item 2B. Yeah. Discussing possible action on approving the proposed ad valorem tax rate. Only thing we're doing is just approving the proposal, the proposed tax rate to support the fiscal year 2025 Village of Salado operating budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed tax rate of 0.4860 per 100 as assessed valuation.
Second.
Mayor, Alderman, if I can interrupt, let me suggest this. So everybody knows what it is, and we go on the record. So you'll hear me out first. You're going to publish a proposed ad valorem rate of 0.1841, a debt service rate of 0.3019, and a maintenance operating for a total of 0.4860. Okay? So the
Oh, I got it.
yeah. 18.41 cents is debt service. 30.19 cents is maintenance and operating. Both of those combined equals 48.60 cents. You get it? 18.41 cents for debt service.
You want to amend your motion?
Yes, Mayor, can I amend my motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to publish a proposed ad valorem tax rate of 0.1841, debt service rate at 0.3019, maintenance operation for a total of 0.4860.
Motion made by Alderman Hurst. Publish a proposed ad valorem tax rate of 0.1841, debt service rate at 0.3019, maintenance and operations for a total of 0.4860. Do I have a second?
I second that, Mayor.
Seconded by Alderman McDonald. Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Question.
just
Oh,
real quick.
sorry, go ahead.
I've made that motion every year for the last 5 years. This is my last year. I figured Zach needed experience. So, good job. Once you do it once, you'll know how to do it the rest of the time.
Was it question called?
Question.
Question called by Alderman Graham, and I'll go down the line here. Alderman Graham,
Yes.
Alderman Hurst,
Yes.
Alderman McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bell.
No.
That passes, Ms. Dean, 3-1. Brings us to the end. Next item on the agenda is adjournment. Have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.